So I feel a little bit like Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes, may he rest in peace, when they always showed pictures of Andy and he had books everywhere. I mean, there are just books everywhere. And I've read books for a long time, although most of them now are on my Kindle, but I've collected a whole bunch of books that I really do like and that have a lot of meaning to me, and certain aspects of all of them I've gotten something out of which I really liked. And so Good to Great, Good to Great was that was a terrific book. Well, here's one you've never heard of, The Runt Pig Principle. This was fantastic, and this talked about, and we actually had the author come talk to my Rotary Club, talked about how you can kind of make something out of nothing if you really know what you're doing, and that's what this guy did, and boy was he a successful person and a successful businessman. One of my favorite books, The Psychology of Influence by Robert Cialdini. Looking for something to read? Read The Psychology of Influence. It's a fantastic book. And there are more. I'm just dropping books. Kick Your Own Ass, written by my friend Rob Johnson, talks about Opus in the book. I mean, how can I not comment on Rob's book? Raving Fans was a strong motivator for me as I built the business, because we want raving fans for Opus services. And if you look on our website, we have a section for raving fans. This is where it came from. So here's the new one. The new one is called The No Asshole Rule: Building a Civilized Workplace and Surviving One That Isn't. What a terrific book. One of our clients recommended it to me. He said, "Hey Bob, we have a policy in our company that says we don't hire assholes." I said, "Oh." I said, "Well, that's really interesting." And my first thought was, well, what's the profile of an asshole? Because if we can figure that out, then we can avoid hiring assholes, can't we? So, it gave me something to think about for a weekend, right? So I've been reading the book, and I've enjoyed reading the book, and the truth is I'm at 47% on my Kindle, but I bought the book because I wanted to have a prop for the video. So as I've thought about it, you realize, and I know we can go too far with this line of comedy here, but assholes do come in all shapes and colors. And that's true with personalities as well. The most obvious one, I think, is the high dominance asshole. And I think we've all seen them in our offices. They've been around. They're overly aggressive people, in your face, cut off your personal space, ask inappropriate questions at inappropriate times. They're just being themselves. That's what they're being, but they're very destructive personalities. So that's the most obvious one. But there are other personalities that can be equally obnoxious and, forget about the joke, really destructive to production and morale. And that can be true for the high extrovert profile as well. And that type of a person lives a world where it's all about them, everything is about them, anything that happens, whether they get a deal or they don't get a deal or somebody else gets business, everything is looked at through the prism of how it affects them. So that's one that I think you can pretty much see coming too. But you also can see it when patience is the highest trait. You might not see that one coming. You might think, oh, high patience people, they're not going to be assholes. Well, unfortunately, any behavioral style taken to the nth degree can bring its challenges to the organization. The way that the high patience profile can do that is through passive aggression. And you see that they may smile at people, they may be non-confrontational, but they say something completely different to somebody when they get into a different situation. And especially in a leadership role, that sending mixed messages can be a real problem and create all kinds of challenges. So it's not as obvious, but it can be equally destructive. And you can find it in the high conformity person, and that person, their asshole gets weighed when they get all involved in details and minutia. And I've sat in meetings with people that all of a sudden they're making this humongous deal out of this tiny little item or aspect, and they get all holier than thou when people will not go along with their one little tiny thing. And so maybe that's an attempt for control, maybe that's an attempt to show how smart they are. It doesn't matter. It's the way that they are being an asshole and impacting the people and the production of the office. So, of course we don't want to hire assholes. Maybe we'll do a video about what you need to look for with that, although I will certainly tell you, for all the years I've been doing what I do with Opus, we're always on the lookout for that. And we may be a little kinder in what we call those people, but we're all looking for the same thing. But recognize that it may not always be obvious, and so you may miss it. More than anything, it comes from the extremes of behavior, either high or low, because the asshole can come at you in all different shapes and sizes. And what you want to be able to do is recognize it, certainly in the interviewing process when you can, and call people out on it in a kind and compassionate way, but call people out on it because that behavior is destructive to productivity and morale. Thanks for listening.